Honourable Member, Microsoft Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking on this adjournment in honor and acknowledgement of our colleague and friend, it strikes me, sir, that all of our accounts of the man are similar, in fact, almost identical. It is heartening, it is instructive, it is important that that is the case. The measure of a man or a woman really comes down to the consistency of their character. And I feel that so strongly, sir, and there are those with whom I've interacted that know I feel that strongly. I once, sir, had the occasion to date a young man who, and a member for St. Michael South, who often asks me whatever became of him, will know who I am talking of, or may know. But why am I starting to tell this short story, sir? Because, we went out perhaps once or twice. It didn't get past 2 times. And he treated me very well. But he treated the person who was serving us, who was waiting on us in the restaurant, terribly. And I sat there thinking, how could I distance myself in character and behavior and in this moment from this person and their behavior with someone he thought was not as important to impress as I was. And if that gentleman is listening, he may now know why I never answered his call ever again. The consistency of a person's character matters. And as I sat here listening this evening, I saw among us that we all started to scratch out different things that we were going to say about the member for St. James North. And I don't think we need to, except in the interest of keeping it a little bit more brief, as I will. But I think that it goes to the heart of who this man is and who he has been to each of us. And we all have the same stories. I too have a story of meeting the honorable member in Golden Square for the first time when it was rumored, as it sometimes can be, that I might enter public service. And what struck me, and what speaks to how open and free of guile the gentleman is that he walked straight up to me, eyes open, arms figuratively open, to say, it's wonderful to meet you. I am, and I know that you are, and to begin a conversation. So there are those of us who think, who believe that because of our experience in a place, because we have been there before, because we are senior, because we are elder, that it means that we sit and wait for people to step forward and kiss the ring. It said so much to me, and to the credit of the Labour Party, if ever they needed an ambassador to encourage young people to get into political service, the member for St. James North should be that ambassador. Because it said to me, well, this is a Labour Party that does not stand on ceremony. This is a person who is interested to know who I am as an individual, to get a sense of what I might be able to offer, what might be my strengths, where I might need support, and to get to understand and to show me the family into which I was coming. And so if there's one thing I would say to us as an executive of the party and to the political leader, is to keep the member for St. James North in the role of ambassador for the Labour Party. But not only that, to keep that spirit, or to have that spirit emulated across other members as we welcome people into the party, because that is what people need. To come to do this work, a friend of mine once told me that it must be a form of madness. To agree to serve as we serve. The public will not agree because they often don't see the depth of sacrifice. But we sometimes think, I often tell young people with whom I'm working that when you go to interview for a job, you are interviewing the company as much as the company is interviewing you. Right? We sometimes think, oh, well, we are here, and if you want to come to us, then you must satisfy us that you are all these things. But we really need to encourage people to get into political service, because it is exactly that, it is service. It is, as the member for St. Michael's South said, it is hard work. And it is thankless in the ways that we might expect, but it is gratifying in the ways in which we have an opportunity to serve people. I too, like others, have a story of the birthday calls. And not all of us, the member for St. James North has his birthday call approach. Others of us have other approaches that connect us with our constituents. But there's a friend of our family who told us a story once about the member. And he said to my husband and I, he said, well, my family do not vote for y'all. And we are all friends. He said, my family is from St. James North. And when the member first started coming around, we made it clear, you don't have to come here because we are not voting for you. And he gave a wonderful impression of the member for St. James North. I won't try to do it, even though I do try from time to time. And I don't think mine is bad either. But he said, the member said, all right, that is okay. And he left. And for each member of the household, he continued with the birthday calls. But further to that, he kept going by the house and calling every person's name and asking how they are. And then when they repeated, my man, why are you coming here? He would smile and say, all right. We know that the member has a habit of saying true, even though he's not agreeing with you necessarily. It is a word that he says. And he kept saying that. And he said one day, a family member said they were doing some chores around the house. And I'm gonna ask for the privilege to say the name only once, just to tell the story, sir. And he said, somebody said, well, I ain't see Hinkson for long. Y'all see him lately? And as they were saying that, up walks the member to say, hello, how you doing, once again. And he said, I don't know how anybody else in the house voted after that, but I do feel that this man is somebody who cared about our well-being. And the point here really is not about birthday calls or whether we call on birthdays or not, or what is the method, each person's method of engagement that they choose. But the example here is really about service and inclusion and inclusiveness. And the fact that, listen, many of us who came to service in 2018, many of us younger members, came to this work with an orientation of inclusion. Came to this work having to tell people who canvassed with us and who walked with us, look, I am here to represent every person. That was our natural and remains our natural disposition and our natural inclination. Because that once you are elected, once you are the duly elected member of a constituency, you represent every single person. And not just voters, not just people who are 18 and above. Every single person. And that story for me embodies that example. But sir, as I wrap up, before I get to the substantive work quickly that the members supported us with, I tend not to believe in mentorship as a thing. as an activity, because sometimes I feel it is not organic. And it's rare that every part of who somebody is you want to emulate. What I have found has worked in my life and in my work is paying attention to the attributes in others that you have seen serve them. To pay attention to those things. Why does this person seem so peaceful? Why is this person so effective in this particular group? What is it that they're doing that I can start to model? And if ever there were to be a picture in the dictionary next to the word unflappable, it would be the photo of the member for St. James North. Because I do not even think a harsh word, well, some of the others may have been there for harsh words that got a certain response. I have not. But I certainly can tell that he has steeled himself for this work. Because we don't always get the kindness of words, even and especially sometimes from those right next to us. And in every moment, in every conversation, there's always a smile, there's always a gentleness of tone and of language that tells you whatever you are about to say is all right with me. You can go ahead and say it. Leadership is not always about being at the top. We lead from wherever we are. And the leadership that the honorable member has shown to each of us, the fact that we have the same story to tell, is what distinguishes him in service. Sir, the honorable member worked with me very closely as a new Minister of Technology, reasonably new, although it never feels like as if you're new, because from day one, you have to be quite old. You have to get on with it. And we worked together, and I say we worked together, in his capacity as chairperson of the Joint Select Committee on Governance, and taking evidence and being able to shepherd through the cyber crime legislation. It came before the committee in an unusual way, being referred as it was from the Senate, from the upper chamber. And it came in that way because it was a true pause to be able to listen to people and to say, we hear your concerns. We believe we have some answers to those concerns, and we want to hear whether there are others. Now, that work that the member led also led to other work, because as we heard in the chamber this evening, we were also called to defend the work before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. And there again, the honorable member took up the mantle and put on the requisite armor, because he in fact never shrinks from a fight, from a worthy fight. And he carries the same temperament to the fight as long and as far as it is indicated, until such time as a different temperament becomes necessary. But in pulling that work together, the honorable member and I would have conversations about the substance, the ideology, the merit, on the left, on the right, up or down, good or bad, about what we were putting forward. It was an honest consideration, sir, of the legislation. And there were moments where he would say to me, well, why you all put that in there if you know that, so and so. And we would talk it through until we came to an honest conclusion. Sir, the work was never about ticking a box and just getting to the end because they told us that's what we had to do. The work was always about putting before the consideration of the people of Barbados the best effort of the government. A piece of legislation that we considered critical to protecting people's well-being, people's reputation, protecting the investments that taxpayers made in the digital infrastructure of this country. It was always about an honest presentation of the legislation in order to protect people, to make sure people felt heard and were heard. In truth, at one point I felt like I had to say to the honorable member, we cannot hear from everyone every day, all the time, in perpetuity, because left to him, he would want to. He would want to make sure that there was no stone unturned in making sure that every Barbadian felt included in this work. It was not simply to be able to say we wrote a report, but it was about making sure that we did good work in the name of and on behalf of the people of Barbados. And so, sir, having looked on, having talked with this honorable gentleman for the last 9 years since I presented myself as a candidate, having benefited from observing his manner of engagement, from being able to watch and observe his doggedness with worthwhile matters, and, you know, the smile and the all right and the true that he gives you, it doesn't change. It doesn't change when he keeps asking you the same thing over and over because you haven't done it yet. The smile remains, as if to say, I can smile forevermore. You will never be able to shake my resolve on this matter, so get used to my face. I've learned from that. I've learned that not everything requires a stern voice, even in the midst of frustration. I am grateful to the Honourable Member for St. James North for those lessons, for his friendship, for the peace that he brought to this parliamentary party, even when he said nothing. And it is an example that I will carry in my pocket, that I will keep on my shoulder, that even when he is not in our sight, or may not be in our immediate hearing, even though he will continue to be a friend and a member and someone who contributes to the well-being of this country, that I will keep those lessons, and I hope that I continue to learn and grow from them as he continues to learn and grow in his next endeavors. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged to you.